करेक्ट। Good morning, Dipankar.
Good morning. Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you.
I welcome back all the participants and good morning to all once again. So the second session is by Dr. Dipankar Dev on adaptive backstepping controller design of quad rotor biplane for payload delivery. Dr. Dipankar Dev is a professor in electrical engineering at Institute of Infrastructure Technology Research and Management, Ahmedabad. He is a senior member of IEEE and has served a couple of years at IIT Guwahati. He has over 6 years of experience both in New York and GE Global Research Bangalore. He received his PhD degree from the University of Virginia, USA in the year of 2007 and MS from the University of Florida in the year 2004. He holds 6 US patents and has published 30 SCI Index General articles and 40 plus international conference papers. He has also authored 10 books with the reputed publishers like Springer Elsevier. He is a book series editor with the Springer for the series Studies in Infrastructure and Control. And he is also a book series editor with the CRC Press on control theory and applications. He has worked extensively in the areas of adaptive control, active flow control, renewable energy, cognitive robotics, and machine learning. So today, sir will be discussing about the adaptive backstepping controller design of quad rotor biplane for payload delivery. So I request Dr. Dev to kindly take over the session.
Thank you. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, great. So my talk for today is on this topic: adaptive backstepping controller design for quadrotor biplane for payload delivery. So let me, before I begin the talk, let me talk about these terminologies first. Okay, first of all, this workshop is on robotics. So what I'm talking about is a unmanned aerial vehicle. So it's controlled from ground, but there is no one in the vehicle itself. So it would come under the broad category of aerial robotics. So in this specific vehicle that I'm talking about, this quadrotor biplane, it has both the quadcopter dynamics, that is the rotary wing. Typically you have seen 4 rotors, okay, enabling a quadcopter to rotate. So I think there are a lot of background noise, but anyways, so there is this quadcopter which has 4 rotary wings, okay, and a typical aircraft has only fixed wings. This quadcopter biplane is a hybrid version of the two. So it has both the, I guess I'll wait for a minute or so that people can come in, because while I speak, as people keep coming in, I just get distracted a little bit. So anyways, so a okay. So this quadrotor biplane, it has both the rotary wing and the hybrid and the fixed wing. So it's a hybrid vehicle. Okay, so I'll be talking about what are the benefits of this specific structure. For example, the rotary wings, they can take off and land vertically because of the presence of the rotary wing. And the fixed wing vehicles, they can go larger distances by consuming less amount of battery and things like that. So a combination of the two is intuitively very desirable. Okay, so that is what we are going to talk about, and specifically for the purpose of payload delivery. And such a vehicle would require a mechanism or a control mechanism for where the parameters will change. For example, the vehicle weight will change, because when we do packet delivery, there will be change in the mass, because once you drop a vehicle, drop a packet, the mass will reduce. So unless the control action takes care of this change in mass, there will be some instability in the system. So because of this, we need some kind of adaptive control. Adaptive control means the controller is adapting to the change in the system. Okay, because the dynamics are non-linear in nature, so we are using a backstepping controller. So broadly, what we are doing is that we are using a hybrid vehicle for packet delivery. And because the vehicle is nonlinear in nature, we are using a backstepping controller. And because the packet weight will change, the overall weight of the vehicle will change because of packet delivery. We are using an adaptive backstepping controller. I think there is too much of noise because of people coming in. Let us, I'll wait for a couple of minutes once we are sure that now the number of persons entering is fixed. Then I start. Okay, I have explained to you the title of the talk. Okay, so I just hold for some time so that people can come in, and then there is no further, this ting noise. So just hold on for 2 minutes. Okay, so let us, I request the host to kindly mute everyone. When you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask the question. At any time, you may please interrupt me and ask the question. But when you are not having a question, at that time, kindly keep yourself muted so that I don't get distracted while speaking. Okay, so having described you the title of the talk, each of these terms in detail, let me now begin the contents of my talk and where this is applied and things like that. So basically, this biplane, like I said, is a hybrid vehicle. It has the rotary wings and the fixed wing as well. And the benefits of both the worlds we try to bring in this vehicle. However, the system itself has nonlinear due to all the 6 degrees of freedom. 6 degrees means the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, these 3 directions, plus the roll angle, pitch angle, and yaw angle. So all the 3 angular degrees of freedom and all the 3 linear directional degrees of freedom, all 6 of them are available. And so naturally the dynamics are nonlinear in nature, highly nonlinear in fact. So a mathematical model of such a nonlinear system is required, and we have to have clearly demarcated idea what is the objective, what is it that we want to control, what is it that we want to accomplish with this vehicle. Okay, so for this, and because it's a nonlinear in nature, one of the well-known methods for nonlinear control is this backstepping controller. I will be explaining you using a very simple subsystem of this vehicle, so that the basic core idea of backstepping control is easy to understand for you. However, like I said, this problem is for packet delivery. That means you take off this vehicle at a certain location. It goes from point A to point B. At 2-meter height, it drops a packet. Again, it goes for some more distance. It drops another packet, and then it comes back. It comes back to its original location. So, because of all this, because of the change in mass that will happen at different stages, we need an adaptive control of the mass, which is the uncertain parameter. So because of that, the nonlinear control system also requires an adaptive mechanism. So that is why we are using adaptive backstepping control. So such packet delivery is, such vehicles for packet delivery is required for Professor Patil, if you can please mute yourself, it will be easier for me to. Yeah, thank you. So there are different applications of these UAVs. For example, in shipping and delivery, search and rescue, precision agriculture, you want to precisely provide certain, let's say, fertilizer in a specific section, in a specific section of the field. For that, you need to use these vehicles. Disaster management, wildlife monitoring, you want to click pictures of a lion, let's say very close, from a close range, aerial photography, geographic mapping, shipping and delivery, all of these things. Now the question comes that these can be done even with a fixed wing aircraft or with a rotary wing also. Why do we need hybrid vehicle? We need hybrid vehicle because of 2 things. The first point is that a rotary wing can do vertical takeoff and landing. You cannot, this is not a, the applications here are not such that you, like a commercial aircraft, you will have a takeoff at a, you will have to have a runway, you will then gradually at low angles of attack, you will pick up the the angle of attack will gradually increase and then get limited to 15 or 16 degree angle of attack, and then it will fly, and then again it will have to land. There has to be a runway and all that. Okay, so that is what a fixed wing aircraft can do. But in a rotary wing, you can have vertical takeoff and landing. Okay, so for rescue operations or in remote locations, you want to drop some packets and things like that, you will prefer rotary wing for vertical takeoff and landing. There is no space or no suitable place for doing takeoff on some runway and things like that, right? So this is first point. So you need to have vertical takeoff and landing. However, if you only have rotary wings for vertical takeoff and landing, then the amount of distance that it can cover in one full charge is very less. It cannot travel more than 20 minutes or so, the traditional quadcopters. Okay, so in such a scenario, you will have to every time come back, get charged, and then do your delivery operations, right? So that's not very effective. So what you need is that during takeoff and landing, it should act like a rotary wing aircraft, and in the hover state, it can go long distances using its aerodynamic properties in the fixed wing mode. So that is why hybrid vehicles are required. So this quadrotor biplane is a very effective hybrid vehicle, which gives you energy efficient. Not in this work, I'm not showing that, but we have done this work to where we have shown energy efficiency of the quadrotor biplane over other fixed wings and rotary wings aircrafts. Okay, so that is the basically broad reason why such a vehicle is required for these difficult terrains, rescue operations, and things like that. Especially you want to, so basically you want both. And I'm harping on this again and again because that is, unless the reason is clear, why should we do all this complicated control unless we know that yes, this is required for this purpose, right? So we need vertical takeoff and landing. At the same time, we want to, instead of 20 minutes of flight time, we want, let's say, 1 hour of flight time. Okay, so to get benefit of both of these worlds, we use this hybrid vehicle. So one type of hybrid vehicle is this tail-seater unmanned aerial vehicle. Okay, so it is, like I said, it is a hybrid vehicle. And then I will be showing you a specific type of tail-seater, which is the quadrotor biplane. Okay, so in general, this tail-seater aircrafts, it's a hybrid vehicle. It gives you the benefit of both rotary wing UAVs and fixed wing UAVs. Rotary wings, like I said, they can do vertical takeoff and landing. They are more stable and they can hover at a certain location. So when it, see, if you want to do packet delivery, you don't want to come to the ground. You want to be slightly above the ground, hover about it, so that someone can take off the, let's say at 1.5 or 2. At 1.5 or 2 meters above the ground, someone can take off the packet. Okay, so you can hover over there. So all these things, benefits we get from rotary wings. The fixed wings have benefit that they can go long duration. They can go at higher altitude. Okay, if you have fixed wing, because of the aerodynamic properties or forces that are generated specifically by this fixed wing. So this is a fixed wing aircraft. This is a rotary wing. Okay, it can carry more weight. So typically, even these small quadrotor biplanes, okay, small size, just because of this fixed wing part. See, these are the 4 rotary wings, right? But because it is sitting on this tail, that is why it is called tail seater. Okay, this wing, okay, this is like your, it's a miniature version of this, of the wings of the Boeing 777, for example. Okay, so this structure, this sort of wing. Okay, so from this side, if you see, it's just a this sort of shape. Okay, now this is not, this shape is not a symmetric about the middle of the line. Okay, so it is upper part is more. So as a result, you get more aerodynamic force when required. So anyways, this blue section is your fixed wing part. And these kindly keep yourself muted. Yeah, thank you. Of course, when you have questions, please unmute and ask. And these are the 4 rotary wings. So tail seater is a type of UAV which is giving us both these benefits. So it can do, advantages of this vehicle is that it can do vertical takeoff and landing. It is stable because of this benefit which we acquired from the rotary wings. Okay, it can hover also, and it can do long duration and energy efficient flight. Okay, so if I do the same trajectory, if I take, for example, with the rotary wing aircraft, having done the vertical takeoff and landing, if I get 20 minutes flight time for the same amount of battery, with the fixed wing aircraft, I will get at least 30 to 35 minutes of flight time for the same amount of battery charge. Okay, so that is why we would like to have this hybridization of these 2 wings. Okay. Now, a better variant of over this tail seater is this quadrotor biplane. So here you see there is, for example, in tail seater, there is this one wing, one fixed wing, right? Here there are 2 fixed wings. Okay, so this is one wing, this is another wing, and there are the 4 rotary wings. And there is this box inside this, there the packet is also there, or different packets may be there, the battery and all these things are in the middle, okay, accumulated in this enclosed box. So here you can see them segregated separately. This is the fixed wing, there are 2 of them. Okay, this is our inertial frame of reference. With respect to that frame, we are, so our x direction is this way, y is this way, and z is towards the ground, towards the earth. Now, this quadrotor biplane, and this is where the control challenge comes in, operates in different modes. So in the quadrotor mode, it will do all these things. But so quadrotor mode means it is like the rotary wing. Okay, in the quadrotor mode, these fixed wings are not activated. They are not giving you the they are just balancing each other. Okay, they are not giving you the aerodynamic force or very minimal aerodynamic force. You are not requiring that. Okay, so in this position or in this mode, it can do vertical takeoff and landing. It can hover at a certain altitude and things like that. Okay, however, for packet delivery, okay, so when we want to do packet delivery, we do come in this mode and we do. Okay, but for longer duration flight, when we want to go for a long duration, when we know that our packet delivery is, the next packet delivery is several minutes away, then in that duration we will be going in the fixed wing mode. Okay, but while doing the delivery and while doing takeoff and landing, we'll come back to quadrotor mode. So the operative modes are these 2, quadrotor mode and the fixed wing mode, right? However, we have to, as you can see, if you just for a moment you just forget about these 2, I will come back to this. The quadrotor mode and the fixed wing mode, they, in the fixed wing mode, you want to operate these wings, right? So you have to rotate this, okay, this almost 90 degrees. Okay, so in this mode, you can travel for long distances, okay, using the aerodynamic force. So here these fixed wings will contribute significantly to the lift force to keep the vehicle flying. Okay. However, you cannot, and of course, when you want to do the packet delivery, you will switch back to this. Okay, you will have to switch back to from this mode to this mode. And when you are in the quadrotor mode, okay, you are hovering, or you have just, let's say, taken off, okay, and now you want to go long haul flight, okay, in fixed wing mode, you have to transition to this. So the dynamics here and the dynamics here are different. Okay, so you cannot do it instantaneously. You have to transition for a few seconds. Okay, so many of the states in this transition mode are not stable. You cannot control them in this time, but the vehicle will not crash because it's for a very short time, 1 or 2 seconds only. Okay, so it will transition from one set of dynamical equations to another. Okay, both while coming from the quadrotor mode to fixed wing mode, and from fixed wing mode to quadrotor mode. Okay, now there are several aspects or in more detail how the packet gets dropped or how the transition happens can be seen from here. The modes, basically this quadrotor biplane, this vehicle, it will do takeoff and landing. So let's say it is doing takeoff, then it will do hovering. Okay, and then in that period, somewhere after hovering for several seconds, it can do packet dropping. Okay, so that all these things are happening in the quadrotor mode. Okay, or it can transition. While transitioning, it will rotate by 90 degrees. So if this direction is -90, this is +90, it will rotate by 90 degree. Okay, and all this rotation is happening in the transition maneuver. Okay, and then if you want to go long haul for several, let's say several kilometers, now you want to travel. Okay, couple of kilometers, let's say you want to travel, you will do it in the level flight mode or the fixed wing mode. Okay, and then after, when you want to, let's say, land now. Okay, so first you will do transition. Okay, rotate by 90 degrees and hover for a while. Okay, and if you have another packet delivery, you will do it, and then you will land. Okay, so this is the sequence in which it will operate, because you will be the packet will be slung to the, slung means it will be connected at the 4 edges. So packet, how it will be is that this is one way of enclosing. Okay, I may have something packet inside here, or I may slung it. Using slung means I may connect to the 4 corners of this vehicle a thread, a strong thread or rope. Okay, and connect the packet. Packet is suspended by connecting it through 4 different ropes. So in such a scenario where when the weight is of the load is heavier, let's say 1/3 of the total weight of the vehicle, then I cannot keep the load inside in this packet. Okay, in this enclosure, I have to keep it hanging. Okay, so that is possible, but you have to do the delivery in the quadrotor. You cannot do the delivery in the fixed wing mode, because otherwise the slung load will entangle among each other and it will not be a proper delivery. All right, so having given you an overview of the different modes how this vehicle operates, let us look at the mathematical model of this biplane quadcopter. Okay, so like I said, there are 6 degrees of freedom. So these are the, so x is the motion in the x direction, y is the motion in the y direction, z is the motion in the z direction, and then I have the roll, pitch and yaw. But these double dots, what they indicate are the accelerations. Okay, in those directions. So acceleration, so that's why double derivative. Okay, so the derivative or the double derivative of position is acceleration, as you know. So double derivative of position in the x direction is the acceleration in the x direction. So acceleration in the y direction, acceleration in the z direction. Okay, so these are the 3 equations. Here, this s theta that you see is a short form of writing sine theta, and c theta that you see is cos theta, cos phi. So this is the theta is the pitch angle, phi is the roll angle, and psi is the yaw angle. Okay, so this part, this force, is, so mass, these are acceleration. So accelerate by Newton's second law of motion, just to give you a fair idea of why the equations are like this. Of course, not trying to derive or model the equations right now, that will be take much more time, but just to give you a flavor. So this is acceleration. Okay, so you have these components. So this is the this is acceleration due to gravity. Okay, so you have the component in that direction. Okay, so contribution in the x direction or the acceleration in the x direction has a segment which is coming because of the acceleration due to gravity in as provided by these different signals or these different angles, roll, pitch, and yaw. Like this, these are the aerodynamic forces, FX, FAX, FAY, and FZ. This is the thrust. M is the mass of the total mass of the vehicle. And these are the different moments in the three different directions. Okay. Now, of course, derivation of this is cumbersome and more detailed in nature, but we are just, because we are interested in controlling this system, we are working with the mathematical model. That is this 6 degrees of freedom. Okay, these we will reduce it into 12 first order ordinary differential equations. These are 6 second order ordinary differential equations. We will reduce it into 12 first order ordinary differential equations and then do our control. Okay. So like I said, these aerodynamic forces are given in this way. This is the lift force, this is the drag force, this is the side force. Okay, and the aerodynamic lift in the lift force that are, or the input that are in these 3 directions are given by this half rho v square and the surface area and the coefficient. So this is a wing because of the amount of force that is being generated because of this fixed wing. This LA, MA, and NA is entirely due to these wings. Okay, so there are different lift and drag coefficients which are represented over here. So this is the lift coefficient. Okay, so now in terms of control, we need to have information about these coefficients. So they are given this B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9. These 9 coefficients are given in terms of the moment of inertia across the X, Y, and Z directions. So IY means in the Y direction. IXZ means between the X and Z direction, like this. Okay. The overall vehicle speed is given by the square root of the 3 components in the 3 directions. The U is the speed in the X direction, V is the speed in the Y direction, because this is vehicle speed with direction. So so it is a, so basically if you apply Pythagoras theorem 2 times, okay, so first time if you apply on, because it's 3-dimensional, so that's why it's a square root of the square of the speeds in the all the 3 directions. This is the pressure, the overall net pressure that is acting on this vehicle because of this vehicle speed. This matrix is the rotational matrix. Why do we need rotational matrix? Because see, the Newton's laws that we have applied here, for example, I have used Newton's laws, okay, they are applicable only in the inertial frame of reference. What is inertial frame of reference? This is our inertial frame, okay, with respect to Earth, okay. But all the components that we generate, the forces acting on this body, we do it in body frame of reference. Okay, body frame of reference means the reference with respect to this rigid body of the vehicle, right? So however, we have to transition from the body axis frame to the inertial frame, because otherwise our Newton's laws of motion, those laws will not apply in the body frame. They will only apply in the inertial frame. So that is why this rotational matrix is used. Okay, So that is how we transition U, V, and W to X dot, Y dot, and Z dot using this rotational matrix. And like I already said, the C phi means cos phi, okay, and S phi means, or S theta or S phi, anything means sin phi or sin theta, okay. So with that formulation, we now are ready to use our quadrotor biplane for a specific packet delivery objective. So our objective is what? Is that we will design the broad objectives of this control design is that we will design a backstepping controller. Why backstepping? Because we have nonlinear. As you can see, these are all nonlinear equations. Okay, this is not a linear system. So because we have a nonlinear system dynamics, we will be because we have nonlinear dynamics, so we will be using backstepping controller. And because we want to have benefit of both the worlds, that is benefit of both rotary wing and fixed wing, so we are going to have to go from, like here, we have to use the quadrotor mode of operation of the backstepping of the quadrotor biplane to do takeoff, landing, and hover. Okay, when it hovers at a low altitude, you can take off the packet. Okay, or you can drop it also using a mechanism like that, so that the packet will not get damaged. So that happens in quadrotor mode. But when you are flying for long distances, that will happen in level flight. So you have to do transitions from this mode to that mode, okay, or this mode to this mode. So that is why there are three modes, okay, quadrotor mode, transition mode, and the fixed wing mode, okay. And because we are doing packet delivery, even though the vehicle weight is not changing, okay, because we will do packet delivery, so overall weight of the vehicle plus the load. And if we do multiple packet delivery, let's say you want to deliver food during a flood relief, okay, so if you drop packets, or in olden times, or let's say even 20-30 years ago, through an helicopter, you would be dropping a lot of food in different regions, but the proper that doesn't reach the intended persons oftentimes, okay, because you cannot estimate how much you should drop at what location and things like that. There are some operational difficulties. So because of this, we would use these smaller vehicles, and we can use multiple of these, right, in different even in 1 square kilometer area, we can use 4 or 5 of these, and they can operate simultaneously and provide adequate relief delivery to the intended user in right amount without having any mishaps and things like that. So because of this, because the packet delivery will happen multiple times, the weight will change, and so the traditional backstepping controller will not be effective, because when the weight, what is adaptive control? Adaptive control means when your vehicle dynamics or any parameter of the vehicle has changed, then the controller will adapt to that change. Okay, so controller will, the designed controller for the original system will not be applied all the time. When you are, for example, we had 18 kg, right? 18 kg is the total weight, and weight of the packets is 6 kg. In this work, what we have done is that we have designed it for total is 18 kg, means the vehicle weight is 12 kg, and we have 2 packet deliveries of 3 kg each. That's it. So initially it is 18 kg. After some time, that is, it took off in quadrotor mode, it flew in fixed wing mode, means after doing transition, and then it comes, let's say, back to quadrotor mode to do packet delivery. So from 18 kg, it became 15 kg. Okay, after some time, let's say then for 1 kilometer it has to go, it will again transition to quadrotor mode, from quadrotor mode to fixed wing mode. And then when it is about to do the delivery, it will transition to quadrotor mode and again do another 3 kg delivery. So it will now 12 kgs, and then it will come back to its original location in fixed wing mode. So to do all of this, okay, so we demonstrate in this work that in realistic scenario, let's say there is some, just for example, few days ago there were several tornadoes across several states in US. Many people died and many huge structures were completely destroyed. So in such a scenario where there is a lot of wind gust and things like that, you immediately for several days there will be no power, there will be no food available. Most of the things are now operating through power, this thing, even Walmart, none of the food chains will be available for several days. So you need to immediately be able to provide food relief to these people, right? So you have to do it with using such a mechanism, multiple packet deliveries in different regions. Okay, so for such a purpose, this kind of, and another thing, yeah, the point I was wanting to make here is that there in many of these flood relief or in such scenarios, the weather is not favorable. Okay, there can be a flood, tornado, many of these things. The weather is not favorable, so there is wind gusts, and as you know, an aerial vehicle is susceptible to wind gust. Okay, so we have to also check how good is our robustness of our control in presence of wind gusts, and so we have done that. Okay, in this case, our total, what we do is that the hovering, we do it around 20-meter altitude, and we command to drop 6 kg weight. When we are about to drop it, we come down to 2 meters. Okay, the packet can be dropped at that point, or it can be taken out because 2 meter is low enough. And we have done both, that is picking up load and dropping of the load. So both the in flood relief, generally you are not picking up anything, but there may be some situations where you have, let's say for example, this vaccine delivery. So you have the designated people who will provide the vaccine or who will administer the vaccine at, let's say, 5 places. But and those are remote locations, they have somehow reached, but you don't want vaccine to be carried with them. Okay, it may be that it may get destroyed in that process. So what you may use this quadrotor biplane to deliver the vaccine to those nurse or the persons on the ground who are going to now administer the vaccine. Let's say at 5 different locations, 1 kilometer apart, they are there. And now this quadrotor biplane will go to each location, okay, drop this packet, okay, and at 5 different locations it drops, and then while coming back, it picks up the unused parts, let's say, okay, and so there can be a need for pickup also, okay, and it comes back to its designated location. So what will be accomplished because of all this is that you have ensured that your delivery mechanism is equitable and fair, it's not damaged by any of these things. Okay, it is not that you have only able to drop packet and you are not picking up the remaining ones which may be useful in the next location. So both packet drop and packet pickup is ensured by this. Why this is important? Because if you are going to do only drop, for certain applications you may do it from a very high altitude also, but for many specific applications you have to come down to a certain very low altitude and then do it. So that is not feasible with only fixed wing aircrafts. Okay, so you need a hybrid situation, and in most of these relief measures there will be wind gusts. Okay, as you know, unfortunately we lost our Chief of Defense Staff, General Bipin Rawat. From what it seems in the beginning or initial this thing, there was a huge wind gust. Okay, of course it's under investigation, but so as you know, wind gusts are a very challenging situation for any aerial vehicle. All right. So now, so the philosophy of doing this packet drop, amount of mass change and all these things is all right. But I have to actually show you how we will apply the backstepping control in different modes. So let us first look at the quadrotor mode. Okay, that is where the aerodynamic forces are not acting. So it will be useful. It will do takeoff, hover, and initial transition it will do, and also it will land. All of these things will happen in quadrotor. Only the long haul flight, let's say you want to fly for 2 kilometers, there if you use quadrotor mode, you will consume too much of, if you only do quadrotor, that is by rotary wings, if you travel, you will consume too much of your energy of the battery, so which will drain it out completely. So then the scope or the distances it can cover in one flight will be reduced. Okay, and but so there is specific, my point is there is specific need for the quadrotor mode and a specific need of the fixed wing mode. In the quadrotor mode, these LA, MA, and NA are all zeros, because these ones, because these are only for aerodynamic forces, okay, which are provided only by the fixed wings. So in the quadrotor mode, as you can see over here, these are not generating aerodynamic forces. They are balancing each other and vertical, you can see. Okay. So that's why this is 0. So under these conditions, we have this simplified equation, and we do this quadrotor mode controller design in this way. So I have the position section and the altitude section. Okay, so I do the position controller using these. So these are my desired positions. When you see suffix D, so X, Y, Z are the positions, but X, D, Y, D, and Z, D are the desired positions. So they are given by the desired trajectory. Okay, means what is it that I want my system to, closed loop system to accomplish, where I want my X, Y, and Z positions to be. Okay, so these are given by the desired trajectory. This is the yaw angle, desired yaw angle. Okay, and the position controller provides so because it is a backstepping controller, one section of the controller or this subsystem will provide the desired signals for the other. This is the basic philosophy of backstepping control. So you are not providing all 6 desired states from the trajectory itself. You are providing 3 and 1, 4. So there are 6 degrees of freedom, but you are providing desired trajectory only of these 4. Okay, the other 2 are provided to the attitude controller by the position controller. So the desired roll and desired pitch are provided by this, and thrust is generated in the position controller. So the vehicle propulsion system gets this thrust and then these 3 forces. Okay, through the attitude controller. These 4, and I will show you in a few slides how these will generate the inputs for the system, the U1, U2, U3, and U4. Okay, and these are the biplane dynamics. This gives me these consist of these 6 states: the position in the XYZ direction and the roll, pitch, and yaw angle. So this is the basic structure of our quadrotor mode. All right. Now, so basically next I'm going to prove or going to provide a stability proof for one section for the roll subsystem, okay, of this. So basically, so this is the roll angle dynamics, okay, this phi double dot, okay. So this I will, so phi double dot. So actually there are two first order equations involved in this. Okay, so those two form this role subsystem. So I'll be there are a lot of stability proofs in these slides, but only this role subsystems proof I am going to explain to you each step. The rest of the thing, by following similar analysis, you can understand. Okay, but this, so over the next 1.5 slide, I'm going to actually talk about each of these equations. So please follow attentively. So first of all, I have an actual angle, okay, that is phi, okay, which is coming from this. So this phi is the roll angle. Okay, from the biplane dynamics, I take that because all these states are available for measurement. So I using a sensor, at any point in time, I can measure what is the roll angle. So I have this actual roll angle, which is phi, available for measurement. And in the quadrotor mode, I generate phi d from the position controller and provide to the attitude controller. And then finally, I have available all 6. Okay, so I provide these 4, and from position controller, I generate these 2. So the phi d is available to me. Okay, so this is phi d. The objective is that I want ideally my error in the roll subsystem to be 0. That means I want this phi in closed loop. When the stability analysis is complete, I want phi to be equal to phi d. So this is my desired expectation. That means if I take limit t tends to infinity of e phi, that should be equal to 0. Okay, so over time this should reduce. Okay, so but in the beginning it is not. These are 2 arbitrary signals. Okay, I'm trying to generate this from this, but at the very first instant they are not same. Okay, or not necessarily same, I should say. Okay, so phi minus phi d is e phi. Now for stability analysis, we use a concept called Lyapunov stability analysis. It is applicable for most nonlinear systems. So what Lyapunov stability analysis says is that if you take the Lyapunov says that if you take the error variable, okay, or if you take any variable, if you take square of that, okay, and you generate a positive definite function in phi, this function, positive definite function in phi, it means that it says that this function, irrespective of the sign of e phi, means whether phi d is greater than phi or phi is greater than phi d. So whether e phi is positive or negative, e phi square is definitely positive, right? So it's a very simple concept in that sense. So Lyapunov says that if you take a positive definite function means definitely positive. So if you take a function like this, okay, and half I am taking, why? Because I'll just tell you in the next step. Okay, you can take any number here, okay, which doesn't make this negative. So any positive number you can take over here. So this is a positive definite function. Lyapunov says that if you take a positive definite function and then when you differentiate it, if you can show that it is negative definite. So please, if you are not familiar with Lyapunov stability analysis, please hear very attentively. For stability of nonlinear system, this is a very effective mechanism which says that Lyapunov stability analysis, this statement says that if you start with a positive definite function, okay, like this, okay, this is positive definite irrespective of the sign of phi. If you start with a positive definite function and when you differentiate it, if you can show that it is definitely negative definite, okay, so you start with a positive definite function and when you differentiate, if you can show like this, okay, that is minus of k phi, where k phi is some positive number, okay, e1 square, actually this is e phi, this is a typo, okay, e phi square, okay. If you can show that this is negative definite. Yes, if this is positive, then this number, this is E5 square. If one is a typo, it should be E5. So this will be negative definite. If this is negative definite, then the system is stable. So Lyapunov says, if you start with a positive definite function and if you can show that it is negative definite, then the system is stable. So what do? We differentiate this. So if I, and that is why I put half here, because when I differentiate this, I will get E5 dot. If I didn't have half, I will just be hanging a 2 here. If I don't put half here, if I just put E5 square as the positive definite function, if I did not have this half, then what would happen? When I differentiate, I will have 2 E5 dot, right? So it's such that I don't have to deal with that 2, I'm just taking half here. So that is the answer for why there is a half. So anyways, if I differentiate this, I get E5 dot. Now E5 is kept here, and E5 dot is phi dot minus phi d dot, right? And phi dot is P, which is the rate of change of roll angle. Okay. So this is P is defined as the rate of change of the roll angle, or first derivative of the roll angle. Phi is roll angle. Okay. So this is not difficult to understand. So we have E5. So E5 dot is E5 P minus phi d dot, right? Okay. Now this only we have this, right? We don't have this yet. Okay, minus K phi E5 square. We don't have. Okay. We want this. We want this. Okay, this is a desired thing. We want this to happen. We only have this E5 P minus phi d dot. So we will have to do something such that this happens. Okay, means it becomes negative definite. Then only we can say that the system is stable. So what we do, we generate, we come up with a virtual control law. Okay, as you can see, one control signal, one desired signal can be generated from one subsystem and given to another in the backstepping method. So what we do, we choose, this is phi dot. Okay, phi dot is P. Okay, so we choose a desired virtual signal PD. Okay, and we call that as phi d dot minus K phi E5. Okay, we can, because E5 is the error. Okay, so it is available for measurement. Why it is available for measurement? Because phi and phi d both are available for measurement. Okay, so phi d dot is available. So we can generate something like this. Okay, K phi is just a gain. So we can generate a P5 PD which is equal to phi d dot, because phi d is available. So I can just differentiate and get that. And K phi is just a gain I can take, and E5 is also available for measurement. So if I define, why am I taking like this though? That can be a question. But if you take like this, you will be able to cancel something. That is why. Okay, and so I generate this PD is equal to phi d dot minus K phi E5. So this is something I define arbitrarily. Okay, this is my desired signal or desired rate of change of phi. Okay, okay. So when I do this, I choose it, then what will happen is that EP, which is the error of the rate of change of phi, it is what? It is simply P minus PD. Okay, so P minus PD, and in place of PD, if I put this, Balmurugan ji, can you please mute yourself? Please mute yourself. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So, so when I put PD is equal to phi d dot minus k phi e phi, I will get EP is equal to P minus this phi d, because PD dot is this. So I'll get P minus phi d dot plus k phi e phi. When I substitute this, okay, I will get this V dot QM phi, this equation will be from this E phi P minus phi d dot, I will get this minus K phi E phi square plus E phi P phi. So what has happened is that ideally I want like this minus K phi E phi square, but I have got minus K phi E phi square plus E phi P phi. So I have got an additional plus term. This is not okay. Okay, it is not complete. So I cannot say that the stability proof is accomplished. Okay, because a positive term is there. I cannot guarantee that this is negative definite, right? So it may be negative or it may be positive also if this is more. So I have to do something more. Okay, so what we do, because this role subsystem has two first order systems, like I said, there are each of these have two first order dynamics. Because this is second order, you can always write them in two first order systems. So this role subsystem also has, this one is the role subsystem, this first phi double dot, this also has two first order systems. So what we do for the second state, what we do, we take like this. We define another positive definite function VQMP is equal to this one plus another. So this is all. If I can show that this is, I have not yet shown that this is positive definite, but if I take this term, okay, this is positive definite, but I have not shown that VM dot is negative definite. So I have not shown stability of this, but this is positive definite. So if I take this half of E phi square over here and take another term, half of EP square. So if I add them, that is positive definite, because irrespective of whether EP is positive or not, half of EP square is positive definite, and this one is positive definite. So VQMP is positive definite. But I have to show that VQMP dot is negative definite. So that is the next step. So this EP, so EP is what? P minus phi d dot plus K phi E phi. So E phi. So if I differentiate it, I get EP dot is P dot minus phi d double dot plus K phi E phi dot. Okay, so it's just a simply a first derivative of this. If I now substitute this over here, because I have phi double dot is given over here by B1R plus B2P times Q plus this term B3LT plus B4NT. So if I substitute this over here, I will get this term V dot QMP is this. Okay, now notice in this, okay, if I have these two signals LT and NT, which are control signals. If I choose a control signal like this LT, okay, if I choose LT in this form and substitute over here, my V dot QMP will become like this, and so that will be negative definite. So I have to generate a control signal LT like this. So if you now go back to this, you see that the attitude controller is generating this control signal LT. Okay, and I have shown only role subsystem. It also generates MT and NT. This is a typo. It should have been small t. Okay. Okay, so it will generate this using these control laws. So like this, I have shown you for LT. And if you substitute this equation over here, means this LT, if you generate in this way and substitute, all of these terms will get cancelled except these two. So it will remain that you took a positive definite function and you have shown that it is the first derivative of this is negative definite. So this role subsystem together is stable. Okay. Like this, similarly, we can find MT and NT for the pitch and the yaw subsystems. Okay, and the thrust we can generate from the position controller like this. This thrust we can generate like this. T. And two other signals are there, UT and UX and UY. And my desired roll and pitch, I said that we will generate from the position. Okay, that is generated in using these equations. Okay, once I have UX and UI, I can generate this. So this is the control design of the quadrotor mode of the quadrotor biplane. All right. So like this. Now, all right. So what I have shown is that in the quadrotor mode, again, to refresh, what are we able to do? We can take off, we can land, we can hover at a certain altitude. Okay, these are all benefits of rotary wing vehicles. Okay, and in the quadrotor mode, we are doing all this. We can deliver the packet. Okay, we can even pick up packet. That is not written, but we can also do that in quadrotor mode. Okay. But when we want to go long haul for a long distance, we need to go in fixed level flight mode, but we cannot directly go. So we need to transition, okay, from quadrotor mode to I have shown you stability in quadrotor mode, right? I have to also show you that the system can survive in the transition mode and transition to the level flight mode, and stability I have to show there. Okay, so let me now take you to the transition mode. What is happening? So in the transition mode, what will happen is that my pitch angle will be commanded to rotate by -90° here, just as shown over here. So I will have to rotate the pitch angle by -90°. Why I am doing this? Because only when I have done this, my level flight mode will be able to generate error. Here I am not able to generate aerodynamic force. In this situation, I can generate some aerodynamic force, but there are certain states which are not stable. So I have to actually come to this position. I cannot directly come. I have to do this transition. Okay. So I have to see what happens to all the states in this mode. So which we are doing right now. So how do we transition? We by rotating by -90°. Okay. Okay. So we are doing transition in this mode. But one thing is there that while doing this, you don't have any control, and this is very important, in the X and Y direction. Okay. In the transition mode, you don't have any control in X and Y direction. Now, the question comes, then will the flight not crash? No, because this duration is very short, okay? A maximum of couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds, okay? And wherever this control is not there, it is not that it is a very large force in that direction. So that care is taken. But because it's an under-actuated system. So we don't have that many inputs to control all the states when we have fixed the pitch angle to almost -90°. So that is why there is something that we cannot control, and that is X and Y. X and Y, if we cannot control, it's okay because Z is still under control. So so the vehicle is unsteady, but it will not crash because Z is still under control, okay, in the transition mode. So what happens is here, the aerodynamic forces are in play. So you have, unlike the quadrotor mode, you have LA and A. In the quadrotor mode, we only had LT, MT, and NT. But here, all these control laws that are generated in the transition mode also have the contribution of the aerodynamic forces, LA, MA, and ME. Why they have contribution? Because in the transition mode, these surfaces are under play. It is now no longer vertical. Okay. However, you don't have control over X and Y direction. Remember, Z direction is towards the earth. Okay, the Z direction is towards the earth. Z is under control. So it is not that the height is now reducing drastically. Quickly the vehicle will crash. It is not like that. So the vehicle is unsteady, but why it is unsteady? Because I don't have control in all the directions. So I have to give up my control in X and Y, but I still have control in Z. So it is not that stall will happen and the aircraft will crash. That will not happen. But because my aerodynamic forces are now coming into play, and soon I will be fully transitioning to the fixed wing mode. Okay, and then I will be able to fly in fixed wing mode for long distance. Okay, anyways, so in transition mode, I have generated these control signals, okay, where aerodynamic forces are having some play. Now, when I rotate to level flight mode, okay, there is some change in the rotational forces, and that is taken care in the three directions in this way. All right, in the level flight mode, like I said, all my aerodynamic forces are fully active. So here the dynamics are very different. Okay, so for example, this FAX, FAY, FAZ, and all the aerodynamic forces like NA, LA, and MA over here. Okay, they are active. Okay, so in level flight mode, my control is like this. Here, see, ultimately biplane will have these 6 states, X, Y, Z. These are the position in the 3 directions. These are the angles in the 3, roll, pitch, and yaw. Okay, and the inputs that are generated are through, this is a typo, are through the variable pitch propulsion system. It is still generating the thrust and the LT, MT, and NT from the velocity controller and the attitude controller. Okay, but there is a small change that here if you remember in the quadrotor mode, the phi d and theta d were generated by, where, as you can see over here, were generated by the position controller. Okay, but here, and given to the attitude controller, but here I have a velocity controller. So I differentiate these 3, okay, and have a velocity controller which will generate the thrust. Okay, and I generate phi d, theta d, and psi d from these 3. Okay, from X, d, Y, d, and Z, d. Okay, so the way of generating the desired signals is different. Again, I would like to reiterate this, that here the desired signals, only this one was coming from the trajectory, and 2 of these were given by the position controller. Now there is no position control. There is a velocity, or directly there is no position control. Of course, there is position control, but the controller itself is velocity controller, which generates the thrust, and the desired signals are generated from this desired signal generator, which uses XYZ and XDYD and ZD signals. Okay, so this is the prime difference between the 2 modes. Okay, level flight mode and quadrotor mode. So here the controller generation, the stability proof, I will not now again repeat these things. Of course, the equations are different, but the principle is similar to what I described to you in detail, those equations. So ensuring, while taking a positive definite function and ensuring that in differentiation of that should be negative definite, if we can show, and that will be negative definite if you choose the control signal UD, this UD, in this way, then you will have VFM dot is equal to this minus kx square minus kx times ex square. So you will start with a positive definite function and have negative definite result, okay, for a kx which is positive. So this, of course, these signals are different. The control signal here and the control signal in the quadrotor mode are different, but the principle of showing the stability is the same. And similarly, the error in the velocity can be chosen like this, and then VFM is positive definite. If you differentiate it, you get this. You can choose a thrust, okay, and this thrust control is generated like this, which will give you negative definiteness. Again, so thrust is generated by this velocity control I show here, and I justify you that by through this proof. So this thrust signal is generated from this velocity control, okay, and I get negative definiteness. So I have proved stability in the flight path mode, okay. Similarly, the other signals LT, MT, and NT are also generated in this way. These signals. And the roll, pitch, and yaw, these three signals are generated from the signal generator in this way. These are the three signals. The roll angle, the pitch angle, and the yaw angle. Okay, now, so backstepping controller is working fine in both the quadrotor mode and the fixed wing mode, and in the transition mode only we give up X and Y control, okay, as a price, because we have made the pitch angle. We have to come to fixed wing mode by fixing one of the angle. So as soon as we fix that angle, we lose, because that angle, pitch angle, was controlling X and Y, or having a significant contribution in X and Y. Because we have to give up that, in the transition mode, we cannot have control of X and Y. But X and Y direction, if we don't have control, it doesn't mean that the vehicle will crash, because we still have control over Z, which is maintaining the height. Okay. Now, so we have done quadrotor mode and fixed wing mode, and a limited control on the transition mode, all of these three, and through this backstepping control. However, there is an issue when we do packet delivery. If there is no packet delivery, if you simply have to go rotate something somewhere, okay, observe something, let's say you want to see precision, or you want to monitor, do surveillance and things like that, then this biplane can work in backstepping control and do fixed wing and rotary wing, quadrotor mode and fixed wing mode, and transition, everything is fine, there is no problem. But if you have to change your weight significantly by doing packet delivery, so you are starting with 18 kg, means 12 kg of the vehicle weight and 6 kg of payload. Now, if you drop 6 kg at a certain point in time, you started at 18, so your control, everything is for that 18 mass. You can see here why this is important, because you see mass is appearing in your, this is thrust control, and mass is appearing in this equation, right? So that means what? If mass will now suddenly change, the thrust will change. Okay, you can see any other signal also. For example, here, okay, okay, mass is not directly being seen here, but thrust definitely I could show you, and maybe I'll show you. Actually, mass is, these signals are part of, means they are using moment of inertia, so moment of inertia will change with mass. So all of these signals are getting affected, and definitely thrust, you can see, is directly affected by change in mass. So when there is change in mass, your thrust will change, at least this you can directly see, and so your system will not get the desired signal, U1, U2, U3, U4, or the appropriate signal. So what you have to do is, so till now, you just forget about this adaptation part, which I'm going to just now say. But what was happening is that we had a desired altitude we want to achieve. We used backstepping control. We had a variable pitch propulsion, and we controlled the biplane in this way, right? Even when there was wind gust, we did it. But when there is a change of mass, and definitely when the total vehicle weight is 18 kg with 6 kg of payload, and now you have dropped 6 kg. So weight has suddenly come down from 18 to 12. The same control action will not be effective. You have, because this is 33% of the weight you have dropped, right? So if you use the same backstepping control, your thrust will not be accurate. So your controller has to adapt to that change. So that means the backstepping controller action, which will generate the thrust, has to change. And that is what we do by using adaptive backstepping control. So what it is simple. Now I will not show you, I will not go through each of these steps. It will take a lot of time, but the principle I'm just saying. So here again, the stability proof, everything has to happen. But the thing is, here, this mass, okay, this mass is m, and gamma star is equal to 1 by m star. So reciprocal of the mass is part of this equation. Okay, so that has to change. Mass is changing, so I have to adapt. My control action has to be an adaptation of this. So what I do, I design a controller or a adaptive law which will, so there will be a different ordinary differential equation in an estimate. So this is gamma star, which is 1 by m star. So it's a reciprocal of mass. Okay, so the reciprocal of the mass is uncertain, and I am estimating that with this. Okay, so the error of that is the error of the reciprocal of the mass. Okay, now I have to generate another ordinary differential equation. It is called adaptive law. If I design my estimate or the change rate of change of the estimate like this, okay, without going into the details of all this, of why it is like this, that will take much more time. But if I design an adaptive controller like this and update, because this is changing, so I don't deal with this. I work, instead of phi star, I put gamma inverse, sorry, in place of gamma star, I put gamma inverse, gamma tilde plus gamma hat. So I have substituted this in place of this, and then I estimate this and update this and make sure that the gamma tilde goes to 0. So if I design my, like I said, my thrust has to change because of the change in mass, right? So now my thrust is no longer depending on mass, exact mass. It is an estimate of mass, okay, or estimate of inverse of mass, whichever way you may call it. The thrust will change. If the estimate of the mass changes, the thrust will also accordingly change. If I design the thrust in this way, instead of taking it directly with reciprocal of mass, which is changing, what will happen is that this thrust, if I take in this way and then substitute over here, my stability proof is guaranteed. Okay, but if mass changes and we don't design the controller accordingly, I cannot guarantee my stability analysis or stability proof. Okay, so that is nothing but what is adaptive control in this case. So like this, I will update the other control laws, okay, LT, MT, NT, and UX and UY. Because why? Because once you have these signals, okay, you can generate phi d, theta d, phi d, and psi d, okay, the desired roll, pitch, and yaw angles. Okay, so that is adaptive control, but there is one small aspect of control allocation which is important. So let us look at that. How we generate this, how we allocate these different control signals. It is important because especially if one of the rotors, let's say, start malfunctioning and things like that, the other rotors have to provide the required amount of power and things like that. So because of this control action is required. So we have 4 kind of forces. Okay, so this L, these moments, let me go to this. Yeah, so the control action U1, U2, U3, U4 through this propulsion system is generated because we are able to provide thrust, and then these three other forces related to the moment. So these four types of forces help us generate U1, U2, U3, U4, which are inputs to the biplane dynamics. Okay, so we have to do some control allocation. We have to allocate these adequately such that U1, U2, U3, U4 are accomplishable. You cannot generate something which is not possible for physical device to provide, okay, to the quadcopter or to the biplane quadcopter. So how we generate is like this. So the thrust and these three other forces, lift, moment, LT, MT, and NT, are generated in this way. Okay, these moments. So these are coefficients. Okay, these K and D, these are based on the damping factor and design constants of the rotors that are used. For example, it is in this case we are saying that this rotor in hovering mode is rotating at 3,200 rotations per minute. Is rotating at 3,200 rotations per minute, and when it is in fixed wing mode, it is rotating at 2,000 rotations per minute. Okay, so and K and D, these are the coefficients of this system. Okay, the different coefficients of these motors. We now see this is not a directly, this is not a invertible, means you have to invert this function. Okay, if I just write, of course I can just write in this way, CT1, CT2, CT3, CT3, CT4. I have to generate these coefficients, right? So I can invert this and write in this way. But thing is that if any of the four rotors fail, let's say, okay, then there will be an under actuation situation. You will not be able to generate one of the four forces. So you have to reallocate. So that is why this kind of formulation is required in such that we are able to provide these signals to the servo system, the brushless motor, and this bearing, so that the transition from rotary wing to fixed wing mode can happen with adequate amount of signals. So for all of these things, we have done a simulation study, and this picture gives you a description of how long this is a realistic scenario, a simple task. I have to travel for these many seconds, 461 seconds, okay, in different modes. So I take off, like I said, in quadrotor mode and use 60 seconds in this. Okay, then I transition to level flight mode in 3 seconds. Okay, then I go, and for a long distance duration, about 7 minutes, I go in level flight mode. Then I transition back for 1 minute, for 1 second, and hover and land. Okay, so first I hover for this many seconds, around 20 seconds, and land in 40 seconds. So this part, hovering and landing, I do in quadrotor mode. These are the two transitions, and takeoff I again do in quadrotor mode, and do the level flight mode in this way. So for this simulation or timeline for simulation, and for a vehicle with this kind of data, that is the moments are given over here, The mass of the vehicle, like I said, without the payload is 12 kg. Okay. And these are the dimensions of the wing size, span, and the chord ratio and things like that. What we find is that the roll, pitch, and yaw angles, okay, compared to the desired roll, pitch, and yaw, over time, the error, as you can see, the error is for most of the time. Okay, of course, at certain instances when it is transitioning, okay, there is some error between the desired roll angle and the actual roll angle, and desired pitch and actual pitch, and desired yaw and actual yaw. But overall, the error is 0. Okay. All right. Like this. For again, we also check it for the X, Y, and Z directions. So X, Y, and Z direction, we find that the change is less prominent in these 3 directions. Okay, it is, the error is almost 0 everywhere. You can see almost overlapping. Okay, so the challenge of the difference between the X position and the desired X and desired Y and actual Y, in the XYZ, the challenge is lesser compared to the roll, pitch, and yaw. Okay. The angular velocity during trajectory tracking. Here I am not doing packet delivery. I am simply doing a trajectory tracking. Means I am asked to follow a certain path and my vehicle is doing that. Okay. So I am not here. There is no packet delivery. I am just going from through quadrotor mode to transition and level flight and performing a task and coming back. There is no change in the mass in this first simulation. Okay. So angular velocity, that is R, Q, and P, PQR are the rate of change of roll, pitch, and yaw. Okay, so this is P is phi dot, Q is theta dot, and R is psi dot. Okay, so there also we find that, of course, because the roll, pitch, and yaw have some errors, as you can see. Okay, so in certain during transitions specifically, and in certain instances, so that in the rate of change of that also we observe the same thing. Okay, also the velocity of the, because we have to show that all the signals are bounded. Okay? There is no, it is not that at any instant something very unrealistic is happening. Okay, so the angle of attack, we find that angle of attack is angle of attack, and this is a slide slip angle beta, is only during transitions there is it goes close to 90 degree, but rest of the time it is bounded, and the velocity of the vehicle is also bounded. Okay, so it is not that at any particular instant of time it is doing something unrealistic. So that is very important to make sure. Position error during trajectory, we have already shown the 2 signals, and the error of that is being shown over here. So that is, and also the error between the roll, pitch, and yaw. The thrust coefficients, they should be realistic. We should be able to generate them actually. So, and we should be able to generate, basically our simulation should not require some values which is not possible for this specific shape of the vehicle to give. So that we have to check that it is the case, and in this case we are finding that all these 4 coefficients are fine in the reasonable ranges. Okay, the thrust is also reasonable. It is not that to control I need some very large number of large amount of force. That is not the case. So the thrust and the 3 moments are reasonable in this case. And so basically I'm going from this position to this position. Is a 3-dimensional plot of XYZ direction, and it shows that I have able to achieve trajectory tracking. Now the next one, this is the more important or interesting part, where we do the packet delivery. So to check the efficacy of our problem, what we do is that we are doing takeoff. So this is takeoff in quadrotor mode. Okay. Then we are doing transitioning from quadrotor to fixed wing mode in this region. Okay. So here, of course, this is also actually 18 kg only. Here, 18 kg weight is there. I am transition quadrotor mode. I am transitioning for 3 seconds. Okay, this is another simulation. So here it is up to 537 seconds. So I'm transitioning with the same payload of 6 kg. Okay. And then I'm doing level flight. Okay. For up to 100 seconds. Okay. And then I am from level flight to again to back to quadrotor mode. I am transitioning. Okay. And when I'm back in the quadrotor mode, I am now doing packet drop. Okay. So I have a drop or pickup. In this case, I am doing a packet drop. Okay. So 6 kg weight is reduced. So I have done a packet drop at this point, 6 kg drop. So now in the next duration here, okay, I have to, because I can remember I can do drop only in quadrotor. So this is quadrotor mode. I'm doing a packet drop, and then again I am in transition mode. So here I transition back to fixed wing mode. This is fixed wing mode. In this duration, my weight is 12 kg. Okay, because 6 kg payload I have dropped. Okay, and then again, after flying for this much time, I want to now do some pickup of the load. So I have done a transition, okay, from fixed wing to quadrotor mode. Okay, and then I am doing packet pickup. Okay, in this mode, I have done in this time, in this duration, I am doing pickup. Now I have picked up 3 kg load, not 6. I had dropped 6 kg, but I am picking up just to check whether for different weights, whether the system is working fine or not. So I am picking up 3 kg. So here I have picked up 3 kg. I am now, so I am 15 kg right now here. And then again I fly with this 15 kg total weight in fixed wing mode, that is in level flight mode. Okay. And then I do transition again. I want to pick up again. So I do transition and then again do pickup of 3 more kgs. So finally I have come here again. I am 18 kg. I do again transition now to fixed wing mode because I want to again fly for some more time, longer duration. So again in this, I am now 18 kg. And after this, once I have reached this position, I will transition back to the quadrotor mode. Okay, from fixed wing mode to quadrotor mode, I will transition. And then I will land in the quadrotor mode. So this simulation is done with adaptive backstepping controller because here the mass will change at different instants of time. So we have to see how our control action is, how our controller responds to this change in mass. So we have applied 2 different, this is our backstepping controller, means what it is showing is that we are not changing the controller or we are not adapting. If we don't adapt to the change in mass, what will happen? So what will happen is actually not very big difference, but you can see that there is some change. Okay, some change in altitude. For this is an altitude graph. So when the packet drop or pickup or like this happens, you see the backstepping control is this blue line. So it is not completely able to, means after the incident, there is an error. Okay. And our adaptive backstepping controller is actually able to adapt. So there is no, you don't find a significant impact of this. And we have also compared it with another method called integral terminal sliding mode. And there it is able to adapt, but it is little slower. So there is you can see this, it is not like the blue line. It is able to, there is an integral action. So the steady state error is naturally reduced, but there is, but if you compare it to in terms of height, see, this is very small. Okay, so this is like 0.1 meter difference between this and this. So about 0.08 meter height will change. 0.08 meter is what? 0.08 meter is like 8 centimeter. Yeah. So 8 centimeter change will, maximum change will happen in this. But then again, the error is in the integral terminal setting. But anyways, I am primarily talking about the adaptive backstepping, and that there is no, it is able to fully adapt, as you can see, in terms of height, which is very important. So this is what we show first. And then in X and Y, there is no issue in any of these, means even backstepping, and even integral backstepping, everything is working fine in X. In Y, there is a little bit of the integral terminal sliding mode is a little bit poorer. For example, here you can see, but otherwise, by and large, they are hovering around very small variations. So it is working fine. The roll angle here, at certain instance with integral terminal sliding mode, there is some issue because the angle change is high. Whereas in adaptive backstepping, the angle change is not so high, it is less. So like this for pitch, yaw, and the adaptive law itself, the mass, how when it changes, how our desired, see, the desired mass changed at this point, right? But with adaptive backstepping, we are able to adapt to this, you can see. Okay, so change in thrust during mass change. Okay, that's an important thing to observe. There is some change in thrust, but it's not unmanageable. There is, of course, 100 Newton change in different locations, but it is only during pickup and landing, and it is not large enough to damage the rotors or anything like that. And the 3D motion, in if I'm going from here and then dropping at different instants and coming back, the motion is roughly same as the desired path. There is during different, because of the packet drops and all, because of the change in thrust and things like that. For example, in integral terminal sliding, you can see some change in the path, some unsteadiness, but it is not, it is able to come back in the right position. Okay, and in adaptive backstepping, that is even lesser. The red line is even closer to the desired path. So basically, what we have accomplished is that even with wind gust and things like that, we are able to accomplish stability. Only the X and Y axis we are not able to control in transition. And if the transition duration is not more than 3 seconds or so, it doesn't overall affect the performance of the system. So with that, I'm done actually, and I can now take some questions. Please unmute yourself and ask any questions that you may like.
Participants can write the question in the chat box also. So one question is there in the chat box. That adaptive I can understand, but why it is called as backstepping?
Okay, good. Let me take you back to, yeah, that's a good question. Thing is that we are, let me take you to this simple, this thing where it will be easy to understand. Okay, so see, thing is, we are not able to, for example, if you look at the quadrotor mode, we do not have any way of, because our number of, the simple answer is I have only 4 inputs, okay, and I have 6 states, okay. So 6 states, as you can see, 6 states, and I have 4 inputs. So I have to control, because this is non-linear system, so it is not that with one input you can control 6 states like that. So there is an under actuation situation. So what you can do is that you can use 4 states, for example. So you can choose anything. So you can choose 4 states which you will track. So this is your desired thing, because you have 4 inputs. Okay, so for 4 inputs you can only track or only arbitrarily track 4 desired signals. So if these are your 4, the other 2 have to be internally generated, means have to be these are also control signals in that sense. Okay, so you have 4, these are 4 inputs which go to the pitch propulsion system, and then there is 4 go to the biplane dynamics. So effectively these are the 4 inputs, but 4 inputs cannot control. The basic simple thing is that 4 inputs cannot control 6 states. So what you do, you use the 4 inputs to control 4 states, and the remaining 2 states are controlled indirectly by other states. So that is why it is a backstepping. So you come back to the states, take their help to control you come back to those states which have been controlled by external signals, and now you use them. So like this. So these are controlled indirectly by the external signals. Now you use them to control your remaining states. So that is why it is called backstep.
Yes, any more questions, participants? You can unmute yourself also to ask the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I
Well,
hope the session is very beneficial for the participants working in this area. Hope to have more such sessions on the same topic, sir. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Sir, I
much.
would
My
like to
pleasure.
ask you to share your contact number or details in the chat box so that can participant, if personally want to contact you regarding the
Sure.
same.
Sure.
Yes.
And also, if anyone wants the slides, you may just write to me in WhatsApp or in email. I will be sharing them. And also I will be making the slides available to the host.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I request all the participants to rejoin for the third session at 2:30 p.m. after the lunch. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.